Welcome to the Impact Over Optics podcast, a place where real progress shines beyond appearances and distractions. Here, voices from across industries come together to share wisdom, stories, and strategies that remind us what's possible when purpose leads the way. Because true progress is not measured by how it looks, but by the impact it leaves behind. Let's get started.
Welcome to this special edition of Impact Over Optics podcast, where we look past appearances and focus on what truly drives meaningful leadership, authenticity, purpose, and lasting impact. Today, we're closing the year with a simple question, not an easy one. What changed us?
Because this year didn't just test what we do, it reshaped who we are. We built, we stumbled, we recalibrated. And somewhere in that tension, we discovered that growth isn't about staying certain. It's about staying open. Open to the lesson, open to the shift, open to becoming something a little different than we were before.
So today isn't about milestones or accomplishments. It's about slowing down, paying attention, and honoring the moments that stretched us, surprised us, and ultimately shaped us. This is our space to reflect with honesty, humility, and a whole lot of humanity.
I want to start with looking back at the moments that truly stopped us this year. The ones that didn't just surprise us, but shifted something inside of us. I know we each had at least one. So let's talk about what happened, why it hit so deeply, and how it changed the way we show up for the people that we lead. I'll get started. This is going to be my raw humanity here, so I apologize in advance if I get a little emotional, but my wife and I had started a business together about 20 years ago, and as we began planning for retirement, one of the things that we had begun to do is look to transition this business. So last year, we found a partner, and we sold the controlling portion of our business to them. And while it provided me with an opportunity to be able to begin thinking about the next stage in retirement, it really shook my world because it totally changed what I saw as the value of myself, like who I was and what I was able to bring to the table. All of a sudden, I was now no longer the boss, and I had bosses, and I struggled with the loss of that identity. It was a big challenge for me to be able to make that transition and really sort of grow into the new place that I was. And I'll be completely honest with you, it shook me hard enough that I left the industry almost completely. It forced me to take a look sort of at myself and the way that I was doing things. I got a therapist and got into therapy to try to understand a little bit more about why I was struggling as much as I was and how I was going to be able to get through. But that sale was the impetus for the event that changed me. And the event that changed me was actually losing my identity, or what I thought was my identity. And the reality is it didn't change me. It didn't redefine me. My job, our jobs, the things that we do on a daily basis aren't who we are. They're a portion of our personality. So for me, sort of redefining myself in the midst of that and finding who I was and the leader that I knew I was inside, positive, contributing person, it was tough. Definitely shook me, but without that time, without that sort of moment, I don't think I would have been able to grow to where I am today. It was an adjustment, and there were some very dark times for a month or so as I was working through that. But yeah, that was my moment. How about you, Jim?
Well, I did have very similar moment to what you're talking about, but I had that moment when I left public safety about 15 years ago for real. For the longest time, I was a very active volunteer in our local community ambulance. And as I was led to a point in that work where I felt that the right thing for me to do was step away from that, I really struggled with my identity as someone who contributes, someone who's a helper, someone who serves his community. And when I walked away from all that, I was really left empty. And that emptiness really was a struggle for me. And I can empathize with the struggle that you're talking about. Because all of a sudden, that big core of what I considered to be my identity as a person wasn't being served any longer. And much of the way you described your realization of what it is that you are versus what it is that you do, I had to finally think through this idea of what I am is not always what I do. What I do serves what I am. And this year, as I thought more and more about, I'm a little older than my friends and colleagues here at the table. I'm looking at milestone birthdays. I'm looking at changes in career that come as you reach the end of your career arc and what to think about next. What became very clear to me was I needed to start thinking about things in a way that actually encompassed the concept of impermanence. The things that we do are impermanent. The mark that we leave is the permanent, is the thing that follows along the way. So I'm now very, very much focused on thinking about what in my next act is going to be the thing that is the action that I do that satisfies the person that I'd like to think of myself as. But Dave, how about you? Where does that leave you?
Thank you. That impermanence is such a good word to bridge to my story. What a hell of a year. And I don't even know where to start. In 2024, I went on an epic vacation with my girlfriend and her son and daughter, and we had this beautiful trip. And then we came back to what ultimately was utter chaos. In February of 2025, my girlfriend's daughter was in a very serious car accident. The emotions behind that, I can still remember the day we got the call. I remember the day I said, we're in the car, let's drive. I remember being some sort of instinctive, supportive partner. That was one journey, way too many times in hospitals. And then 2 months later, I was visiting my mother, who's early dementia, and witnessed her fall. It witnessed her go to the hospital and deal with a bunch of similar, almost weirdly, the same situations as that first crisis. And had very little to do with my work life. My personal life was suddenly pulled into this journey of just trauma, of reaction, of constant grief, but it shook me, shook my entire family. The impermanence, the reason I bring that back up is we all know life is fragile. In 2025, a big portion of how I tried to learn from this is I really prioritized family. I was so grateful to have clients that allowed me to work the way I needed to allow me the support in the space I needed to. I was so grateful to have friends like you both and many others, but it's really hard to explain unless you've been through it, just how difficult it is to be present for a client, to be present for other people when you're dealing with this. Your whole being is about supporting your loved one. And in some ways, I'm really proud that I was able to. Really glad I was. But I've been afraid of this episode. I've been afraid to talk about this because it's so deeply emotional. I know so much of it, like 2025 can go away. We actually went back this past year to the exact same vacation we did in 2024 in order to say, we've survived this. We had a wonderful time in 2025, and we're ready for the next year to be a real year of growth, of just polishing whatever we just went through. I love my girlfriend's daughter very much. I love my mom very much. They're different people than they were a year ago at this time. And if it's done anything, it's taught me how fragile life is and how we have to balance work and life, but don't mistake the two, right? Spend time with your friends and family and don't wait for a moment of panic and crisis to be there for them.
It's such a great reminder. And I think sometimes we get wound up in life and we forget to take the time to be present. And I appreciate that you said that because it's a good reminder. Like, life is fragile. We have no guarantees. So take the time, make it a priority, be with your people.
And this is unscripted, but I want to thank you both because you're both in emergency response. I have spent a lot of time hugging and thanking first responders in the past year, thanking them, buying them whatever I can do that's ethically okay. I can't give them tips apparently, but I can buy them sandwiches. And what you guys have done in the past and what these people have did both for my girlfriend's daughter and my mom, phenomenal. And there's no way I could have gone through this without them. So thank you for the work you've done in the past and present.
Proud to serve.
And I do want to talk about something that you mentioned, which was that idea of being intentional when understanding impermanence. One of the things, as we were talking before we started recording today, was talking about how many times you two have scheduled time together, how many times John and I have scheduled time together because we're physical close and can get together for lunch, how many times you've each built into your calendar opportunities to be present. And we do this from the standpoint of just trying to maintain connections. But in this particular context, I see it as, I don't know when I'm going to see this person again. I don't know if I'm going to have another opportunity to have a conversation with them. I want my days to have some element of this. I get to make that connection with you today more than because of thinking about the impermanence of all the things we've gone through this year.
And you have the absolute agency to choose that. As you're talking, I'm thinking about how so many people wait till Sunday to go be with their church community, which is great. They're doing it in part to worship, but also to be with community. They pick a time. And John and I happen to every Monday at 10:30, we meet, we talk, we set our weeks up for success, but also we're having a meeting that's not a meeting, right? You can do that. We have the agency to do that and do it while you can is, I think, part of what you're saying, Jim.
Exactly so.
That's great. How about we move on to the next segment?
Okay. In this segment, I want to talk a little bit about growth with our friends. Growth is something that sort of rarely announces itself. You sort of understand it as it sneaks up on you a little bit. You kind of get this sense of something's changed, something's new, something's different over time. And for all of us who live very busy lives or are very scheduled or are living on the clock, sometimes it's very hard to set that time aside to hear that voice when it shows up, to have that expectation. I know for me, one of the things I've worked on a lot on this past year when you talk about transitions is, what does it look like for me to be a different kind of leader in an area where I may be transitioning my teams to a time when I'm not there around them. Like when I am at work and I'm in a work context, I think very strongly about what is the vision? What is the thing that we're working towards? What is the quarterly deliverable? What is the yearly deliverable? I set up with my teams yearly deliverables, and then we work towards them and have quarterly and year-end meetings to talk about each one of those pieces. For me, as I was driving and learning and growing into the role I currently have, one of the things I felt I needed to do was understand every part of the business that I had become a part of, and then be able to lead in each piece of that along the way. Because I felt as a leader, the only way I was going to be successful was not only understand that business, but be able to set that direction. I felt that was necessary for me to do, to gather the respect of the people that I was leading, who knew far more as subject matter experts in the area than I did. And what I've come to listen to as my little voice over time is, actually, that's just too much. I am not supposed to be pushing them, driving them in that fashion. I'm supposed to be letting them expand and grow into that particular space. So the quiet voice this year for me has been step back, slow down, open up, encourage, let them grow and let them teach me, rather than me trying to be that person who has to push them forward along the way. And it's been hugely successful. I think they respect it better. I think I like it better. I think we have a better product. I think we deliver more things because I have given them the thing that I've always wanted, which was autonomy and the opportunity for mastery and some purpose along the way. And I needed to step out of the way. I needed to hear that voice before I could let them have that opportunity.
I love it.
Yeah. Great. So you talk about growth, right? And one thing I was thinking about what you were just talking is, it can be evolutionary, it can be revolutionary. Or oftentimes when I tell people, is it a lightning bolt? Fire changed without expectation, or is it a glacier? And everything I just talked about before that I went through, when I think about the growth, right? There was that traumatic events that just changed me really forever. But inside of that was this more subtle change. And when I had posted on a LinkedIn about this just hard year, and I posted some of my learning, someone had said, read this book called The Worst Is Over. The Worst Is Over is a book that basically teaches first responders and other people how to deal with someone who's in a traumatic event. And what a gift that was, because it basically says, if you can take someone who is dealing with trauma, whatever they have, and just say the worst is over, you can calm them. You can get them towards healing. And I took that internally and said, well, hell, this year has been hard. There's been a lot of dramatic change. But if I can say to myself in a much more glacial way, the worst is over, how do I then just sort of pave this into the person I've been trying to become, which you guys both know, maybe the listeners know or not, I've been trying to slow down. I mean, I talk very fast, I think very fast, but in my motions and the way I start my day, and trying to slow down. So there's this precious nature to life. And despite all the noise and chaos, sometimes it is possible, and I've learned this, to find the subtle lessons that weave throughout all of these horrible things. I'm not saying anyone presented me with these opportunities to learn, but every time you're presented with anything, you have an opportunity to learn from it, right? Not an obligation, but an opportunity. So I've been really thrilled to be able to think about how the worst is over. Do I know that for a fact? No. But when I believe that, I can start moving into growth, right?
I love it. When I think about what I learned and the growth that I needed, I got 32 years in public safety. I ended up finally, like I had said, was as I struggled with my career change, got a therapist, spent some time talking, and finally started working through what PTSD looks like for a first responder who spent 30 years doing this. And that sucked. That was really hard, because as first responders, we believe that there's some strength in the machismo, right? Like we can handle this. We can carry all of this ourselves. And we were actually never meant to carry any of it by ourselves. Everything we do was meant to be done in community. And I think the biggest learning and growth that I needed to do was to be able to figure out how to do that in a healthy way. I didn't realize how much that had really affected my life and my stress levels and the ways that I interacted with others and the communication. And then go a step further and say, even the way that I led, it was definitely a piece of me that because I continued to pile stuff on and hide it in the back, it never got addressed. And when I didn't address it, it just complicated so many things. So I spent a lot of time working on better ways to process trauma, to grow. This wasn't about revisiting all the trauma. This was about allowing it to pass through me and to ultimately find the life and happiness that I deserve. One of the chiefs from FDNY used to say, I wish my heart could forget the things that my eyes have seen. And as I look at my career, and I know in your career, and you've definitely dealt with some in yours as well, like those are the moments. How do we get past that? Those moments definitely shook us, but how do we move past that? So I think my learning this year was about learning how to deal with trauma and move past it and not allow it to cripple me or make it define me, but to pass through and allow me to be the leader that I was designed to be. So
that's great. And it reminds me, John, life is a team sport. And we spend a lot of time, especially in our culture, trying to establish our individuality, which is fine. There's a stage of growth in adolescence where you have to establish it. But coming back to community, we're tribal by nature. We need each other. The three of us complement each other. I want to move into the third segment of this because we talked about what changed us, the trauma, the issues. And then we talked about a little about growth. A big part of this growth journey is also about recognizing the community we're a part of, recognizing gratitude, having some grace. And for me, I already sort of alluded to it, but just recognizing that this year would not have been possible without my family and friends, having some acknowledgement of that, acknowledging that just starting this with you three. I had known Jim before a year ago, just knowing that John connected us, right? My life is about connecting with people who can help me grow, but I can help them grow as well. It's been a gift, right? And so I have gratitude for that. I have gratitude for the day my mom fell. I went to the hospital. I was exercising a muscle memory from weeks ago when the other accident happened. And there were two individuals there who were helping me help my mom. And I'm grateful for them, right? I feel forever bonded to them. I've said some really awkward things to the one woman because I've seen her. I'm like, listen, we're family forever. Because every time I see her, I feel this deep gratitude. And I don't know if I would have been ready for that gratitude without the change that I went through. And it's lifelong gratitude. So I think there's been so many people that have helped me get through this. It's really important. And for everyone watching this too, you go through an event, you grow from it, but then you do need to slow down as I try to slow down my talk right now, even slow down and express some gratitude for the people that really have helped you through that. John, what are your feelings on that?
So this is the one that I'm going to cry talking about, and I apologize in advance.
I held back my tears earlier.
All right, man up. And it's not tears, actually. This is probably just allergies. We had a health scare this year, wife and I, and it was, again, one of those moments that shakes your world. Everything stopped in an instant. And all of a sudden you began thinking about the things that were important to you and trying to focus on how to make that work. It was such a ridiculous moment when all you want to do is try to control the outcome and you realize you're completely powerless. It's time to just live and trust. And where that trust and living came in was through community. Simon Sinek and Noah Trevor did a great podcast on friendship. And they talked specifically about being a friend when somebody needs you. It's not that it's easy, but being a friend when somebody needs, hey, I need somebody to talk to. Hey, I'm here for you.
Sure.
But their shtick was not that that's what being a friend is. Their shtick was being a friend is being open to help when you need it. And I think one of the toughest things for us was being able to share that with some very close people and be like, hey, this is what's going on and this sucks really freaking bad. No idea where this is going to go or what this is going to turn into. But man, that was such an incredible thing to be able to reach out to people. And both of you were two people that I reached out to through this, and the support, the love, the care, those were the things that really brought us back. It didn't minimize the impact of the situation, but what it did was it didn't leave you feeling alone. And there is something incredibly powerful about friends that just say, we don't even need to talk. Let's just sit down and have a bourbon together and we can just sit here in silence. Sometimes that's what community is. And I think for me, that was the really powerful moment. I'm happy to say that we're on the backside of it and it is no longer an issue that we're concerned with, but it definitely framed things differently for us, all the things that mattered. And My takeaway from that whole thing was exactly what we're talking about: friendship and community and leveraging and using that. And I don't say using in the context from a negative standpoint, but using friendship in the context of, if I'm going to be a good friend, I need to ask for help when I need it. And I need to also be that friend and be there for others when they need it. It's community. So it was big for me, but yeah, that's what I would say for me.
That's great, John.
Yeah, you said something that totally derailed everything I was going to say a minute ago, which is awesome. You talked about being a good friend means asking. I know in my life, I spend a lot of time being that dependable person that people will come to when they have a problem. And that sort of burns into at least my head, this idea of, I know you have a problem, so the last thing I want to do is share my problem with you. And that's wrong. I actually have found over this year, if anything else, I have robbed you of the opportunity to be my friend by not doing that. I have devalued, I have boxed in our friendship because I didn't give you the opportunity to be strong and thoughtful for me in the way that you asked me to be strong and thoughtful for you. And I never saw it that way before. This year, I have an opportunity. I've been looking at opportunities for what I might do next in my career. And as I thought about getting ready for this episode, I was like, how many people did I reach out to this year? Say, I really need to get your opinion on this. I really need to talk to you about this. And I didn't think of it when I started that, but I realized as I was looking back, I was like, oh yeah, I gave all of you and many others, an opportunity to be present for me. And I'm really grateful for that, because this decision process of thinking about what to do next was flipping hard. And I'm like just totally struggled with it all the time. We struggle alone. We struggle in our quiet. We struggle in our silence. We don't know what we're doing. So we just ruminate and ruminate and ruminate and let all of those thoughts run wild in our brains. And yet once I would take the time to express them, to talk them out, to make them verbal, to get your feedback, to sit in grace, to listen to that feedback, I was like, I feel better. I feel clearer. I don't know that I have maybe gotten any more information than I had before about making the decision, but I don't feel as stressed by it. Because to go back to what you said, Dave, I leveraged my community to help me in ways that I'm grateful to have the opportunity to do in the first place.
That's great. And the more you practice, the easier it gets. It's easy to be lonely. There's an epidemic of loneliness. You've probably heard that before. I'm pretty convinced it's leading to the rise in dementia and just some of the issues in our culture. The more we can practice authenticity, being vulnerable, talking to other people. I told my girlfriend the other day, the more we listen to people, the more they're going to ask us to listen. So the equation may not always feel balanced, but from an energy perspective, no matter what you're putting out there from a listening perspective, if you're doing it from your heart, from your soul, you're getting back the energy from the other people. That's what community is about. It's great.
Or you're giving that person energy to go for someone else.
Beautiful.
My wife and I talk all about the ripple.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know where the ripple goes. I did a kindness today. I may never see that kindness come back to me, but I think that kindness will go somewhere else.
Yeah. And exercise, walk down the street, smile at somebody. When they smile back at you, don't worry where that smile goes next. I love doing that sometimes. When that smile becomes transferable, or when they smile at you, you're like, I wonder where that smile came from, right? You know it's going somewhere else. And that's beautiful. It's truly, you don't have to follow it. You just know it's going there. It's great.
Physiologically, that person for a moment got a little endorphin and lifted their stress level. They brought that with them when they left that encounter, however long it was.
As we wrap up this special edition, we look back on a year that didn't just move us forward, it reshaped us. The challenges, the unexpected turns, the moments that forced us to pause and consider who we're becoming. They left their mark.
And change isn't always loud. Sometimes it slips in quietly through our habits, our mindset, our willingness to grow, even when it feels uncomfortable. These small, often unseen moments are the ones that transform us the most.
To everyone who's been a part of this journey, thank you. Thank you for listening, for reflecting with us, and for choosing purpose in a world obsessed with optics. What changed us this year will absolutely shape the impact we make next year, and we're grateful to walk that road with you.
So from all of us at Impact Over Optics, thank you for being here. Here's to the lessons that made us and to the impact still ahead.
And remember, authentic change always outlasts appearance. Until next time, lead with purpose and leave a real mark.
Thanks again for joining us on the Impact Over Optics podcast. We hope today's insights sparked fresh ideas and reminded you of the power of purpose-driven work. Please share this episode with others who believe in real change, and join us again as we continue to look beyond appearances and focus on the impact that truly lasts.